The other day I made a video and I mentioned Michael Brunner and Nicholas Schreck in it. And then I got a comment later on that said, Michael Brunner is not influenced by Nicholas Schreck. First off, I didn't say Michael Brunner was influenced by Nicholas Schreck. I said Michael Brunner's head's up Nicholas Schreck's. And the person that commented, your head's so far up Nicholas Schreck's. You should have seen Michael Brunner. Tell the complete story of why I would even think that Michael Brunner was influenced by Nicholas Schreck. I have to go all the way back to the beginning of the story when I first met Michael Brunner. It was court that I met an attorney. Didn't actually meet him there, but that's basically the first place that he showed up in my life, is in court. Okay, past court, he bows out, his attorney bows out, he's no longer in it. Then he contacts me. I forget how he even contacted me the first time, but he contacted me, I believe, it might have been on Facebook. I don't know. And he asked me if he could call me. I said, sure, why not? I don't have anything against you, sure. And I wouldn't mind talking to you. Because it was at the same time that Brian Davis had just had him on a show. But Michael didn't know that he was going to be on Brian Davis's show. It was just a matter of Brian Davis recording him when they were talking to each other. And I thought that was a low blow, man. So I wanted to tell him about that. I wanted to say, man, that was a sucker job what he did on you. And you probably shouldn't talk to people because they're continuously going to keep on doing this to you, man. Because that's all these people are like out here in this world. So I really wanted to tell him that. And it's like, yeah, come on, about it. I would tell him about his dad. And I would tell him things that were coming from my heart about his dad. And it was really nice talking to a person where you could talk to them about Charles Manson and they wouldn't look at you like you were strange or like you were some cult follower or something, you know. So it was pretty nice. I actually like Michael. He's a really nice guy. He reminds me of myself when I was that redneck kid from Ohio, back in Ohio. He just reminds me of everything about that and a lot about myself if I would have probably stayed in Ohio. I would tell him my honest opinion on things, just like I would tell anybody, really. And I told him things about this people in this world that surrounded his dad. And I told him just to be careful of them. Watch out for them, because a lot of them, all they want to do is to take advantage of you. And especially Nicholas Schreck. Watch out for that guy, because you know, Michael would talk and he would be talking and every other 5 sentences would be about Nicholas Schreck. And it was almost like, man, is this your girlfriend or something? You know how you talk if it was your girlfriend. It was like, oh, Nicholas, oh, Nicholas, oh, Nicholas, oh, Nicholas. And I thought, Michael, you better watch out, man. Do you really know this dude? Just watch out for him, because he's attached himself to everybody along the line. And that's how he's made his whole career, by attaching himself to people and then basically telling their story along the way. You know, he was attached himself to Anton LaVey, and he was a Satanist for however long, trying to take over his story. And then he's married to Zena LaVey. I mean, he wrote on that for a long time. And then, oh man, Charles Manson, he's the expert at Charles Manson. I was like, just watch this dude, because he's attaching himself to people to make money off of them. It's the only reason he does it, and you're next. Oh, Nicholas, he's a good guy, he's a nice guy, he's a nice guy. Okay, whatever, man. Because you call me all the time. And I loved talking to him. It kind of reminded me of, talking to his dad on the phone. It was just cool. I liked it. And I like him. And I still like him. I think in a way, he's been taken advantage of, and he's made up his mind that, okay, whatever. I still like the guy, though. And I'm not out to get him whatsoever. So in that video the other day, I wasn't trying to say I'm out to get him. I'm just saying he's been taken advantage of by Nicholas Schreck. And when Nicholas Schreck came up on that camera with them cards saying, Jason's the grandson, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. He actually should have came up on the camera with cards that says, I wrote a book and I took your money and I made a mistake and COVID came around and I spent the money and I tried to make more money and give it back, and then I started giving the books to people that really would comment the most and make the most noise, and I never really gave everybody back their book, and then I made more deals to try to make. One day I was scrolling through social media and I seen where Stoner, he had this group, and it said, Michael Brunner's coming over to Spawn Ranch. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I talked to him on the phone. He never told me that. And I thought, dang, I wish they would have invited me. Even Stoner didn't tell me about it. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. It don't really matter if they don't want me to go there. So I really wasn't going to go. And I thought, dang, I'd really like to meet that dude, though. I should go. So I was really debating back and forth in my head, because I've been talking to him on the phone at that point, and it's like, how come he didn't tell me he was going over there? So I just let it pass. And then a little time passed, and Michael texted me and says, hey, I'm in the area. Can I stop at your house? And I thought, sure. Heck yeah, man. He's like, I got my wife and my kid. Is that, yeah, sure, man. Bring them all. Come on over. I'll be glad to have you come over. So I was all excited to meet him. And I was out waiting for him at my house. So I was still on social media, and Stoner's still saying that Michael Brunner's coming over to Spawn Ranch, and he's over there waiting for him now. And I thought, huh. So I told Stoner, I says, you know what, dude? Michael just called me and said that he's coming over to my house, and you're going to be waiting over there all day for him, because if he's coming here, he's going to talk to me for a while. Why don't you just come over here, man? Wait for him here. And then we all went to Spawn Ranch, and again, his wife was there, and his kid was there. Manson's real grandson was there. That was the coolest thing in the world, like 3 generations of Mansons there almost. And there's the little one, and we were at Spawn Ranch, and he was almost it kind of chokes me up. He was on top of the cave, and he grabs this rock and he throws it on my head, and I thought, damn, that's just little Charlie right there, man. And I thought the saddest thing in the world. I thought the saddest thought right there. I thought, you know what, man? Charlie would have died. He would have died to have this, even if it was in the visiting room, you know? The little kid running around, throwing stuff. He would have just loved that. And I conveyed that message to Michael. I'm like, man, you screwed up. You should have gave your dad that opportunity. And now you can't get it back. So I felt really bad for Michael. I felt really bad for Charlie, because he would have loved to have that grandkid he would have had him standing on the chairs, walking on the tape. He would have loved. Well, I find out the reason that Michael was in Los Angeles is because he was here to distribute his dad's ashes in Death Valley. He got his dad's ashes from Black Wolf. Black Wolf was at the funeral. Black Wolf is the only guy that ever came into Manson's life. He was a solid dude, man. Manson actually loved him like a brother. He was only out to help Charlie. That's all he ever did was help him. He wasn't in his life to take from him. He wasn't in his life to get something from him. He didn't even want to be noticed when he was in Manson's life. All he was there for was to help him. So I don't have anything bad to say about him. And he did obtain some ashes from that horrible funeral film. And he took them with him, and now he was with Michael Brunner, and they were with Nicholas Schreck, and they were out in Death Valley, and Nicholas Schreck's friends, whoever he decided probably wanted to come along with it, because all those people are pretty influenced by Nicholas Schreck, and they didn't actually want me to be there. So Michael was here now apologizing to me because he thought that I was going to be there too, and I wasn't there. And I thought that was pretty solid of Mike to do that. That was really cool of him to say, hey man, I'm sorry that you weren't there. But basically Nicholas didn't want you there. Sorry. So anyway, they distributed Manson's ashes in Death Valley though. So Charles Manson is at Barker Ranch. So if you feel serious, you're to scatter his dad's ashes out there in Death Valley. And I'm glad that some of Charlie made it out to Barker Ranch out in Death Valley. I wish they would have told me though, because I was so deep into the process of a permit and on how to get a place in the cemetery out there. Could have got you a permit, could have got a spot in the cemetery. The ashes that you did have, rather than throwing them in the air, we could have put them in a container. We could have buried the container in the cemetery. We could have put a monument up there. We could have put a stone in there. Could have done a lot of things. I would have even helped paid for it. But they didn't want me involved. They just didn't want me involved. At that point I was thinking, why wouldn't they want me here? What does Nicholas Schreck have against me? I like the guy. I got his CD. I bought his books. What's he got against me? That's what I was thinking. I was like, I know this dude. What's he got against me that he wouldn't want me around him? Whatever. I don't care. Manson's still in Death Valley. That's all that really matters anyway. He's there. And it didn't cost me nothing. They should have really asked though. Because we could have a monument out there for the dude right now. We could be making the whole world mad. Then I started thinking, I wonder if Michael's telling him what I'm telling him about Schreck, and that's probably the reason he don't like me. Oh, I bet you that's the reason. But I didn't have any proof of it. I didn't have any proof at all. Me and Michael were talking. I was telling him about the value of himself and his own story and how he's kept quiet for all these years and how people would probably be interested in, just not people on social media, but probably the whole world would be interested in what Charles Manson's son had to say. And I was telling him, don't go blowing this. You could actually make a lot of money with your story if you went to the right person and you got the right agent to do it with. And he kept telling me, oh, money don't matter, it doesn't matter, I'm not out for the money. And I legitimately don't think he's out for any money. So I don't think the dude's out for any money. But that's beside the point. It's your story. You need, and this is what I kept telling him, I don't care if you're out for money or not, it's your story, don't blow it. Because people will definitely make money on your story. They won't care. They'll go make as much money as they possibly can on your story, and they will not care one bit. So you should actually care about that part of it. And if you don't want the money yourself, if you've got so much of it that you don't even need it, give it to your kid then. Put it in an account for him so he can go to college or whatever. Just don't blow it when it comes to your story. What I told him is don't negotiate your own deal. Get somebody else to do that for you. Because the person that they're negotiating with, they don't care. If you got somebody working for you, all they care is about is getting the most money. That's all they care. You get an agent, all the agent cares about is getting the most money out of you. And that's what I was telling Michael. You need to get some sort of an agent before you tell your story so that they can get the most amount of money out of your story and give it back to you and then take their share. And then I told him an example of an agent that because I've been taken advantage of, so I'm not going to say that, I know the system and how to work it. But after you get taken advantage of a lot of times in this system, you kind of learn you're not getting taken advantage of again in this system. So I had a guy come to me and he asked me, hey, we're going to do this show on, it was when Tarantino's movie was coming out, and he's like, we're going to do the show on Charles Manson in downtown LA. We're going to have all Charles Manson stuff there. It's all going to be about Manson. It's going to be called Once Upon a Time in 1969, and it's going to have everything to do with Charles Manson. And we want you involved. And I said, like, okay, sure. And I showed him what I could add to it. And what I could add to it was I was going to add to it, like, there was like, he had like 23 different cases, floor cases that need filled with stuff. I need to bring that stuff down there. I need to bring that stuff home. I need to watch it. I have to have security over that stuff. All kinds of things were involved in that stuff. And I don't know all the things involved in that stuff, but an agent does. So I got an agent for that. And I says, okay, you negotiate with my agent and come to a deal and we'll do it. And they did. And they came to a deal. And I was happy with the deal. And I told Michael all this. I was like, man, that dude got me more money than I could have ever gotten out of this thing. by having an agent. And that's what you need to do too, man. Rather than Michael taking that advice and saying, yeah, he's right, I should probably get an agent. I could probably get more money out of this. No. I found out that he denies it to this day. He keeps saying, I didn't tell him that, I didn't tell him that, I didn't tell him. Only person I ever told the story to was Michael Brunner. And then I find out from the guy that's running the show, I was like, how come you told Nicholas Schreck how much money you were making? Because I was making like triple what Schreck was making. And Schreck had to put on a show too there. And now the guy running the show was kind of mad at me because I told Nicholas Schreck how much, and I didn't tell Nicholas Schreck how much money I was making. I told Michael Brunner how much money I was making, how much money I got through an agent. So at that point I knew, man, this dude's a stool pigeon. He's like, guess what he just said to me? And then calling me on, is that what he's been doing the whole time? Man, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way after that happened. And that's immediately when I knew that this guy was so far up north in that he was a keister sack, man. That's all he was. He was a keister sack for this guy. And then I was just waiting to see what came next. So now I was in trouble with the guy who was running the show. He was mad. He was mad that I ran to tell Schreck, almost like, nah, guess what? I got more than, no, which I didn't even do. It was Michael Brunner who did that for me. And I wasn't expecting that. So I was kind of blindsided by this dude. Said, why did you tell Schreck? He didn't call my agent anymore. He called me directly. He's like, why did you call Schreck? And tell him that. And I was like, first off, I don't even know Schreck. I know of the dude. Secondly, I didn't say anything to him. I swear to you, I did not say nothing to him. I promise you, I didn't. He must be just making it up. I don't know where that came from. But I knew deep down in my heart, I told Michael. And so Danny's like, okay, cool, whatever. And I told him, I says, you know what, if Schreck wants more money, you can hit him with the fact that he's flying over here on a travel visa. He's only coming over here to do his film. All he's doing is standing there. He's going to talk, big deal. And he's coming over on a travel visa that you're paying for. And usually when you come over here to do work, you fly over on a different kind of visa. It's called a work visa. And they do that because you can pay income taxes with that sort of money, you know. And then when you pay income taxes and you're in the system, then they know that you've already committed workers' comp fraud. So then they make you pay that up too. So just hit him with that. Because he's already committed fraud here in America. He's already here on a visa that doesn't apply to what he's doing. So don't give him any more money and just tell him to hit the bricks. So now we're in Los Angeles and the LA Times, you know, the show's on. It's about ready to start. And the LA Times comes out and there's an article in it about the son of Charles Manson. And I thought, oh wow, that's cool. Michael Brunner's in the paper. And I read the article, and basically all the paper said was, you know, a little bit about him and on how that they were going to do an in-depth thing on him. And then it also mentioned the show that we were all having there. So it was like free advertising for the show, you know. And then there's Nicholas Schreck's name in there, and he has a show too. And he's going to be, and I knew exactly then, Michael, you blew it. You blew it. What happened is you've let Nicholas Schreck be your agent. And Nicholas Schreck ran you right to the LA Times, who pays absolutely that amount of money for your story. But that don't mean that the LA Times don't make any money off your story, because I've watched what the LA Times has done with your story since you went with Nick, your agent, down to the LA Times to give it all to him so that you could tell, you know, he could use you to get advertising for that show that we were doing. Yeah, I've watched that thing, man. It's got like, at one point it had 1.1 million views. Yeah. You know how much that would equate to? Just on YouTube right there, in a money value that your kid could have had in his bank account if you would have negotiated a deal with somebody else, and not me, but some big agency to get your story out there, it would have probably gotten more than the 1.1 million views that the LA Times got. And that's a lot, 1.1, because that's anywhere between $8,000 and $35,000 just for ad revenue on YouTube, just for what they made on YouTube for that. It's well above that now. It's probably doubled. So if it's doubled, it's like Nicholas traded you for that, man, so that he could get advertising for that show. He traded you for that. Just what I was telling you that he was going to do. But you're not influenced by Nicholas Schreck at all, are you? Not one time. Now, if I want to do a 2-hour long documentary on Michael Brunner, I don't. I'm just saying, if I'm some Hollywood agency and I want to do a 2-hour interview or a 2-hour documentary with Michael Brunner, and I even want to put interviews in there with Michael Brunner, you know who they're going to go to now? They're going to go to the LA Times and they're going to buy it from them, and they'll insert them in their documentaries, and you're just totally left out of the equation, man. And like you said, like you were telling me from the beginning, money don't matter. I don't care about money. I don't care about money. I don't care about money. Rednecks all say that, man, because we never had any money. And be careful what you wish for, because you just might get your wish. So don't talk like that. And you have been influenced by this dude. And you're being influenced by this dude right now. So stop it. Stop letting him get into your... I'm figuring if he's influenced you, right now I'm only assuming. I don't know if you have been or not. I hope to God you haven't, but I seen him on there with them note cards, and I'm only guessing that you believe it too. Don't believe it. You're friends with your brother. Your brother has an attorney. Have that guy fight. Fight this. Let me give you a little bit of... something to put in your head as like a speculation on, because we all know this. Me, you, and Daniel, we all know this. And Jason, don't forget, we all know this. You came out and said that you did a test and you found out who your brother was. I'm not denying that one bit. Not one bit. And then you turned the paperwork into the court. You turned all the paperwork in. I've said this in a couple videos. I don't know if it's stuck yet or not, but you turned all the paperwork in. All of it. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork there that goes into a lot of detail on how you and your brother match. Okay, now Jason comes out on video and he says, I did a DNA test and I matched. He's saying exactly what you just said, man. He's parroting you. Because it worked. It worked for you and Daniel. And I'm not saying that that's not legit. That is legit, but it worked. He's seen it worked. It's like, wow, it worked for that guy. I'm going to try it too. He's parroting the same thing you said. The only thing that he's not doing, and we all know this, I know this, you know this, Daniel knows this, and Jason knows this. The only thing that he's not doing is he's not handing in that big stack of paperwork that you all have and you all got and you all know that you got to the court like you did. Immediately when you got it, you turned that stuff in as fast as you could. How come he isn't doing that? How come he doesn't have that stack of paperwork? And how come he's saying exactly the same things that you said when they said, ding dong, we got another match over here in the media? It seemed like it was easy to him for just saying, oh yeah, 24. The court actually has a stack of papers though that proved your side of it. Just think about that. And if you are being influenced by this dude, just think about it. So, Michael, you have a brother. Your brother has an attorney. He should demand that see this dude's paperwork. I mean, you showed your paperwork. And if people don't know what's on that paperwork, I could make a little copy of you, and I could make a little copy of Daniel from all that information on that paperwork. You gave me your whole entire DNA history. And you gave that up to a guy that actually needs that kind of stuff. That's all I'm saying. I don't need it. I just thought, wow, this is a lot of, man, I got a lot of stuff here. Oh yeah, here's the first. You want to know what I thought when I got all that paper that showed all your DNA on it, Michael? Here's what I thought. I thought, wow, man, all those cigarette butts that he left behind that I saved that have his DNA on them, now I could attach one of those cigarette butts to each one of these pieces of paper showing his DNA and sell them. That's what I thought. That was just a joke, though, in my mind, because I'm not doing that. But that's the first thing I thought. What's the first thing Jason thought when he got all that stuff? Just saying. Just saying. One more thing. One more thing just dawned on me just at this very moment about how you said, oh, I'm not being influenced. And in one of these videos I said if I could bet in Vegas that Jason wouldn't have showed up at the next hearing because he would wanted to have been on film, I would have won whatever I bet because I just knew it. Something just dawned on me that if I could bet in Vegas that you were being influenced by Nicholas Schreck, I would do it because I would win. Because I heard Nicholas Schreck has a movie. He's working on a documentary, and I'd bet $10 to a nickel you're in it. I bet that. And that probably had nothing to do with any influence, though. Hopefully you're getting paid a whole bank of money for doing it if you are. And hopefully you make a decent film that's more positive than negative. And besides that, really cares. Peace.